Hello, it's me again, on the floor. Today I want to talk about the saying of never meet your heroes and what I think about it and my personal opinions about it. And the reason behind that is because I've been kind of like reflecting back on the DMs and the comments that I've been getting so far. So I'm basically based in Dubai right now, and it's a rare moment in my life where I'm actually settled down in one country. And I'm actually staying in that country for a long time. So because of that, I've been getting like a lot of DMs, comments saying like, oh, I'm also in Dubai, let's hang out, I've been a fan of your work, etc., etc. And there's a saying of like never meet your heroes. And I actually completely relate to that in a more nuanced way, I would say. And how I relate to that is if you're a fan of someone else, then it's actually usually better when you don't meet them in real life. Because I think there's a huge difference between being a fan of someone else versus appreciating someone else's work, finding value in it, and supporting them. So what is the difference, if you would ask me? Obviously, this is like a personal interpretation. Maybe it's completely wrong. Who knows? But I feel like fan is someone else who supports that creator, celebrity, or whoever that person is, whether that aligns with their values or don't. So they sort of like lose this objectivity a little bit and get influenced by that person's values or by that person's decisions heavily, and they don't filter it through their value system, if that makes sense. So it's like, let's say if someone that you didn't know did that, you would judge them, but because you're a fan of this person, if they do it, you accept it, if that makes sense. So that's kind of like actually a thing that I personally don't like. I would rather have a community of people who are more objective, who give constructive criticism rather than being a yes man. And I feel like actually the community we built like around this channel and also my main channel is really close to that constructive criticism part. Obviously, I feel like there are some people that would appreciate and love whatever I do, but I feel like the majority of people are more like if I, make, a crappy video or it doesn't really feel authentic or it doesn't have like clear values, I get comments saying that, Rudy, maybe you rushed this video or, I understand like you have a schedule, but like for next video, I would appreciate if you did this. So I really appreciate that, honestly. And the fear that I think most creators have, from a creator's perspective, I think meeting a fan is difficult, especially like not like bumping in the streets and saying like hi and taking pictures or anything like that. I personally really love that. It's not that part, sort of more like becoming a friend with a fan of yours. Because I think from a creator's perspective, I assume if someone is a fan of mine who would support my rights and wrongs, they probably have a high expectation towards who I am as a person. And I do not know what kind of like a version of me exists in their head. Because if they're a fan, if they support you through all these decisions that you could, you might be making, they probably consumed a lot of my content. They probably created this imaginary version of me in their head that they highly resonate to or maybe aspire to be and they really love. So as a creator, when I, let's say, get approached as a fan who says that they're a fan of mine, I don't know whether they're someone who watches my content and finds value in it versus they are creating this ideal version of me in their head, if that makes sense. So I can obviously like just say hello, thank you, take pictures. But when it comes to becoming a friend, now I have this fear of, will I break this imaginary version of me in their head and will they get disappointed? You might be thinking, dude, it doesn't matter like just who you are, if they get disappointed, etc., etc. Yeah, sure. I agree on that. But the thing that it's, I think, scary, at least from a female creator's perspective, is that if that fan is quite obsessed with you, and if you break that expectation that they have towards you, I feel like it can go into two ways. Either they'll be like, okay, she's not someone like I thought she is, and they would just like not be a fan of yours anymore. But the other thing is that they might get more obsessed with you, or they might feel like they got betrayed by you. And because being a fan is a very strong emotion, in my opinion, or at least like what I saw from Japanese celebrities and their fandoms and fan bases and also K-pop and stuff like that, people can be crazy. And it just like scares me. If I said something wrong or if I said something offending to them or very disappointing, what would their actions be, right? That's kind of scary. And that's the reason like why I can't be friends with a fan of mine. Because imagine, let's say if I tell a secret or something very private, because I mean, obviously if they would be my friend, I would tell them. because I can't keep my mouth shut toward my friends. And let's say that secret is ruining the image that they had for me. I would be constantly scared of that. So from a creator's perspective, I think that's the thing. Like, there's a difference between really appreciating someone else versus idealizing them in your head. And I think when you idealize someone else and you realize that it was not quite right, you get disappointed. And I think from a fan side and also from the creators or celebrity or whoever side, I don't think it's really a good relationship. I feel like being a fan of someone else, like, I don't think I really understand that emotion, I would say, because I never idealized someone in my head that much, probably like one time that I could remember, but also that didn't last that long. So I never had this like being a fan of someone else truly and, you know, watching, like, really obsessing with them in the last 5 years, I would say. Obviously, when I was younger, maybe I had one or two. Now that I think about it, I don't know the reason why I don't idealize someone else. Maybe it's because I know enough amount of creators in my life. I know how they represent themselves online versus how they are in real life. And maybe as a creator, I have a better understanding of, what part of it is polished and what part of it is not. Because what I can say is that actually a lot of creators are different in real life. Like, I'm not gonna spill the tea, or I'm not gonna say in which way, but what I think it made me realize after like 4 or 5 years of doing this YouTube as my job is that not everyone is the same as you see on screen. And I think it's completely fine. Like, I'm not gonna say that, like, it's not that in a way that people lie to you or people are completely different or anything. I think, you know, after meeting a lot of creators, I realized they are all human, you know? The idealized version of them actually never existed. It's just that in the videos, it's like a more curated, more polished version of them. It's still them, but more in a polished and more in a marketable way, I would say. So after meeting a bunch of creators, I would say actually a lot of them are like, I would say like most of them have whatever thing that they show in their video, so the essence of it, but more in a chaotic way, if that makes sense. For example, if they look super organized in real life, they're actually not. They're struggling with it, and that's the reason why they are obsessed with it, and that's the reason why they constantly make videos about it, because they're trying to solve the issue that they have and they're sharing what they learn, if that makes sense. And, you know, like overall, like for example, some people who show themselves as a wholesome, authentic people can be quite the opposite, like extremely different, and sometimes they're literally the same. So I think after being like 4 years doing this for full time, I realized, yeah, like there's no point in idealizing someone else. Obviously there are like creators that I'm like, oh my god, I love every single piece of video you put out of here, and I respect you and I value you, I love your work, but it's not that like I'm obsessed with you. I'm a huge fan of you, I love you or anything. So yeah, what's the point? I think my conclusion would be there is no point in idealizing someone else, because usually that's the version that you created in your head, but it doesn't exist in reality. Like, no matter who it is, whether it's a celebrity, whether it's a creator, or whether it's someone super successful in real life, they're actually more human than you think, and they're more imperfect than you think. No matter how they represent themselves in media, like, doesn't matter, literally. And I think the important thing is not idealizing someone else, but having that filter, a value filter of what you value, what you don't value, what you agree, what you disagree, and being able to give constructive criticism, no matter who that is, no matter whether they seem to be extremely successful or maybe, you know, they seem below you by societal standards, or whether you love them or whether you don't love them. I think always having that filter of taking what's true or that's valuable from them and not taking the things that you don't value from them is an extremely important skill, in my opinion. Because like right now, you know, especially with social media, we are bombarded towards different opinions, different walks of lives, and there's so much like opinion that you can get exposed to, basically. You know, in the old days, you would only hear people in your social circle talk about certain things and you would be exposed to certain ideologies. But now with social media, actually, I feel like there's more diversity, which is a good thing, but blindly listening to someone and blindly believing everything that they say without thinking in your head is a massive issue. So my conclusion would be, even if it's a creator that you absolutely love or absolutely hate, always think in your head without a bias. Obviously we will have bias, but as much as you can without a bias. I think that's the important thing, because I also found myself like believing things from people that I respect much easily, even though I tell to myself always question, no matter who that is. Not like doubting them, but more like don't take things as a fact, but more like, let me sit and think about this, if that makes sense. Yeah. I'm having my Turkish coffee and looking at the amazing view. So, am I procrastinating? Yes. But at least I filmed this video. Yeah. So what do you guys think about this not critical thinking even, but not having biased opinions and idealizing someone else, and whether you met one of your heroes and how it was? Tell me. See you soon.